All right, so in case you're wondering, who is this handsome guy? Who is this handsome bald guy in front of you? The name is Sterling White, and you know the next steps. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell. That way you can be informed of these absolute bombs and golden nuggets that are dropped. So when I got started in multifamily investing, I was formerly had 150 single families and then decided to make that transition. I'm a firm believer that it's 95% mindset, and then the remaining 5% are the actual tactics, the strategies, the mechanics of how to exactly do things. So we're going to go ahead and roll into point number one, knowing your why, which I'm sure you've heard this so many times with people saying know your why, because this is vitally important. Is why are you doing this? Is it to become wealthy, or is it financial success? And many of the times is that is not, they've done studies on people, and when that's a driver, is they actually tend to give up more, because that is not really something that it drives people to a certain extent, but there's usually something that they can go above and beyond. So let's say it is money, is what would you want to do with the money? Provide to your family or give it to charity? The money is least on the totem pole of main drivers for people within their why. A story of mine, I'll keep this very short and sweet for you. So in my early 20s, I was at a college party doing what college kids do. So from that is I end up drifting away from the crowd, and it's at a lake house, and I'm out in the middle of this canoe, or what do you call that, or boat, whatever the difference is between those two. And this is in the middle of a lake or a pond, whatever the difference is between those. I'm out there, and this beaming question comes down to me and says, Sterling, is this what you want to do with your life? And up until that point, it was not. And I knew that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. And I knew if I wanted to get somewhere else in life that I had to change things and become an entirely different person. So from there that's why I uncovered, okay, Sterling, where you want to go and why do you want to do that? And one of the whys that I have is just one, the background and environment I came from, growing up on welfare, Section 8 housing, having a single mother, all these just very negative environment, that I want to be an ideal and a message for those people who came from there, that hey, this is a path that you can take, and this is how I took that path, and this is how far along I came, just to show them what is possible. So that's one why, among other things, is just one, we only have one life on this planet, or whatever you happen to believe out there. Maybe you believe that we may reincarnate into a sugar glider, which sugar gliders are actually pretty cool, or reincarnate into a butterfly, whatever it is. So I digress. So that's the first thing, is knowing your why. The second is uncovering your limiting beliefs. So when made that transition from single family, the very first deal was a 46 unit apartment. And at that point, I didn't even consider age. I was 26, 27 years old, which many people would think that, one, getting into investing, you need to have a large amount of cash. Didn't have a large amount of cash on that first deal. I actually had to raise it from investors, because myself personally didn't have it. And that's one limiting belief that most people do have. The second was age. Didn't even consider my age at that time, and the person that was sitting across from me, who was the owner, because that all was direct to owner on that particular deal, didn't even consider many of those types of things. And then also that the market, and this was in 2017 where things were really starting to heat up, that many said there's no way to be able to buy deals. All these different things that could have crept in my mindset, but just decided to, one, through focusing on mindset, listening to the Earl Nightingales, the Jim Rohns, the Zig Ziglars, and rewiring a lot of my thinking, that it came down to is, you're at A, you want to get to Z, the objective is now to be able to bridge the gap. So first is knowing your why. Second is your limiting beliefs, and shattering through those limiting beliefs by seeing what other beliefs other people have, and what is the friction between those, or bridging the gap between the way they think and the way you think, because they got that way a certain way, and it's majority of the time in the way they think, and then also their hard work. So that's the second. The third is keeping and having a long-term view as a investor, not even in just multifamily investing alone, but the real estate sector as a whole, is having that long-term view. Because if you have a short-term and a short view and window and way of thinking about things, is that one, you'll tend to take shortcuts, and then also, let's say and this is one common thing that I hear, and I would like for you all to comment below as well, and I'll leave a cliffhanger on this, is I had someone reach out to me and they said direct mail was not working for them, and I asked them how many times did they hit the list. So would like for you to comment below on what you believe, how many times they hit the list, and this goes to show you their expectations. Because it wasn't very many. Actually, it was one. So I don't want to leave you on the cliffhanger. I was going to do that, but it was one time. And that just goes to show many people's expectations that they have, not realizing that it's a long-term play. And normally it takes actually between the 6 to 8 attempt just to get in contact with someone, especially when you're taking the direct owner approach, or even when you're nurturing relationships with agents, either or brokers. And the fourth is the abundance versus the scarcity mindset. And how this works is someone who has the abundance mindset is there's plenty of opportunity, there's plenty of deals out there, plenty of people to partner with, plenty of investors, whatever the case is, versus someone who has the scarcity mindset is always in a frame of mind that there's no deals, it's so competitive, there's no way I'll be able to raise money on this deal. And having that mindset will stop you before you even get started. And I'll go ahead and share another case study, because I love sharing these case studies. I'll keep it very small for you. Is that there was a deal, this was just under 120 units, of which direct to owner, and started the initial conversation and negotiations. And one of the red flags, which at the time, hindsight 2020, should have known this was a red flag, but they mentioned they had been patching the roofs for as long as they owned the complex. So we end up putting in our assumptions that we would be able to patch the roofs too. So we go under contract, spend about $10,000 towards the due diligence. We're walking all the units, and one should have brought us snacks, especially when you're walking that amount of units. I tell you that on each and every the second floor, there was a leak in the ceiling. So we ended up getting contractors up there, roofing contractors, and they said there's no way I would feel comfortable patching these. You actually need to replace, which blew out of our budget. And this is where the scarcity mindset came into play, is we started looking at the numbers and said, well, we can actually be a little bit more aggressive here on the being able to push up the rents. We went a little bit too heavy on the expenses. We can actually shave that. No. By all means, that is a sign that, hey, it's time for us to take a step back. This is not the right deal. Let's just move on to another one. And right shortly after that, we ended up finding another one. So just having the abundance mindset versus the scarcity, because the scarcity can really get you in trouble, especially if you fall in love with the property. Please don't do that. All right, there we go. So that's that point. And the last one is just taking action. I'm sure you've heard this 1,000 times, maybe even 1,000,000 times with taking action, but there's some of you who may be in the analysis paralysis mode, and go ahead and comment below if you are in the analysis paralysis mode. Maybe you're now on YouTube University is what I've heard. You've gone through all the videos here on BiggerPockets and constantly going through them, and you've never taken action. This is by far the key component, is committing first and then figuring the rest out later, is a quote that I've learned, and so much of a believer on that, because one, a lot of the things that are even covered on even books that you read, YouTube videos, here throughout the BiggerPockets channel, where people are sharing their experiences, there's no amount of way or knowledge that you can gain by that would not be as beneficial as you actually going out there and doing it, because you'll uncover some things that were not covered on all this material, because there's a lot of moving parts, but just going out there and taking action, you'll figure a lot of the things out. And with under this is just doing whatever it takes in the ethical way, you guys. I want to make that disclaimer. I'm sure everyone on here is ethical, but yeah, doing whatever it takes in the ethical way is just knowing that going the extra mile and doing what others will not do, because that's truly where you're able to get the best deals and put you in the best position to succeed. So in closing, you guys, is first, you've got to know your why. Where are you going? Why are you doing this? The second is identifying your limiting beliefs and look to shatter those. This is by far one of the common things that I see most people get tripped on, is they let their limiting beliefs control them. It's like a thermostat. Is if for you to get your first deal in multifamily, you need to be at 70 degrees. However, your beliefs are at 50 degrees, is you'll figure out a way to constantly self-sabotage yourself to where you'll constantly keep staying at that 50-degree threshold. And I gave the example for myself is when made the transition on the very first 46 unit deal. And this is what you'll see here is more of the property, is that on that particular one, did not consider what most people think is they don't have the money. There's a way around that. I didn't think about my age. I didn't think about, well, it's very competitive right now in today's market. I just knew, hey, here's Z, I'm at A, let's reverse engineer to be able to bridge that gap. Next is having a long-term view, because if you have a short term, is you'll tend to take shortcuts, or you'll just have the unrealistic expectation and you'll give up too soon. The next is abundance versus the scarcity mindset. Huge. Because there's abundance of deals, there's abundance of opportunity that's out there for everyone. There's plenty out there, versus some people think of the scarcity and they get tripped up and they never get started just due to that belief system that they have. And the last but not least is taking action, you guys. So wrapping all this together and then taking the necessary action. So curious, go ahead and comment below. What was your biggest takeaway? I love hearing from you guys. Enjoy you and go out there, crush it, and keep being awesome. Thank you.